joining me in this live. I would love that you kindly put where you're joining in the comment section. I want to know where you're joining from. And I promise that we'll have a wonderful night tonight. I won't be taking all the time because I want to get straight to what we have to discuss. Obviously, there's always a lot to discuss. And even though I'm running this as an introduction, there is no way I won't have to touch on some important points or some important things that we need to address. And I love the fact that whether or not it's introductive, you are getting blessed. And I love the reviews I've been able to get. I've had to very watch myself to know if to see the kind of quality I've been able to embed in the things that I explained. While we can't have all the time to discuss everything, you obviously have to learn one or two things from the things that we have discussed. And I remember that when we started this whole series about uh, how to be successful, it is meant to be introductory, not meant to be everything you need. But I've discovered that interacting with people, I've found out that many people don't even have an idea as to how they can be successful. Many people think they have an idea. Many people assume or imagine they have an idea. Many people just, it's mind blowing when you sit with people or have them on the other side of the phone, and then you are able to analyze their lives. You're able to see how they think, what they have believed, and why they are where they are. And then you find the reasons behind why success is looks far away from many of them. But I believe that success is possible for everybody and it is repeatable. It is not for a few, it is not for some persons. While I know that there are a lot of challenges that one might have to go through, varying from one person to another, it is important to know that regardless, one can travel towards success. And when you understand the place of willpower, principles, knowledge, and being able to follow them up and act on them, not just knowing them, you'll set up yourself and have the advantage. You'll have over 80% advantage to have a good shot at success. So 80% is way too high, which means that it is it is not fairly, it is very possible. It means it is very possible. When you have an 80% chance on something, it means that you are likely to have it, because 80% is way more than 50. It's way more than it's way more than 20, 30, 40, 50. It's way more than 60. And you know that sometimes when 18 is 50-50, you still have a chance of winning it. Not to talk of when it is 80%. Sometimes it is way more than that. So we talked in the first episode, we talked about desire as the prerequisite, the foundation of everything success, because you need to be able to identify that your life is somewhere and you're looking for a change state that your life needs to be translated into. That is first. The second is that you need to be willing to change. You need to know that having to, if you could be successful living the same life you're living, then you don't need to do anything else, or you would have been successful by now. But if you need to be successful and you've been doing the same thing, you've been living your life in a kind of way, it means that you will need to change from what you are, your totality is, what your identity is. Well, maybe not change the totality of yourself, but you need to be able to change what you are, what your mind is, how you see things, how you think, how you reason, the things you know. Because many of the things that has produced you are the combination of the things you've seen from the start of life, the environment, the things you've believed, your interest, your willpower, your choices is the totality of what you are at any given time. While I understand that there may be things that may have happened to you externally, but there is like the environment as well. But there is a high chance that you are what you are because of the things that has made you up. But interestingly, as much as you can change those things, then you can change your pathway. You can always change or work things out to get you to be successful. So not being successful or living a life that is not sure that success can be guaranteed is not the problem. The issue would be if you're not doing anything as regards to the problem. So that's the place of you knowing that you need to change into something else, which may not be your totality and doesn't have to be instant, doesn't have to be immediate. And there's the how to change how you need to see change, the psychology of change. And because many people approach change from the head knowledge perspective, they think because I know more now, then I have changed. No, that you know more does not mean you have changed. And you have to understand that change is a lot of things, but you can do it. It is achievable. I've changed a lot in my life. I have changed a lot in my life. And I will tell you this story. You know, I set up a team member. There's this one of my organizations that I run, and then I had to get somebody that I know that I could trust because I just wanted to set it up and get busy with other things. So I got somebody who I knew had the skill and I could trust. I got him to lead the team. And I remember one of those times he was giving me a review and he mentioned that one of the team members had some difficulties, which were things that we outlined in the job description that he didn't meet. Obviously, he told us he met the requirements and we discovered that he was struggling. And then I told my guy, who was the manager at the time, I told him to scrap the guy, like permit me to. What I mean by scrap was his files, his role, like let him just leave. I don't mean to say that insultively. I meant to say, let him go. Just let him go. He can't. He's obviously struggling and he's slowing us down. And then this guy looked at me because he's known me for a long time and he said, you have changed. I said, like, what do you mean? He said, he used to remember that I used to be so kind and I would accommodate every single person. Do you know when I got the review, I was so joyful and happy. I was jumping around because I loved that review. That you knew that I used to be something and I've really changed. Interestingly, was not changing for the bad. For you to know that I've changed to something better, because that change wasn't something easy for me to have achieved. I was at the place where I accommodated everybody. I would take your worst, take your, which is good. I still do it now, but I was doing it up to, if it was affecting my job, affecting my progress, I would accommodate you. But at some point, I looked at the desire for success and I looked at the price I would have to pay. And I saw that I would really need to be intelligent with kindness. I can't just be kind without boundaries. I can't just be kind without intelligence, accommodating every and anybody. And for me to tell a team member to leave is just even the preliminary level to running an organization, which means that if I am to run an organization successfully, I need to be able to lay people off when they deserve it. So when he said I changed, I really loved it because it was a good review. And for me to achieve that change state, to for me to get to a place where I could lay people off was not an easy feat. I worked on it for years and I love that I achieved it. So you need to be able to achieve that change. And then we talked about responsibility, how that you take responsibility every day, every time. And sometimes many times we think that responsibility has to do with what is bad, what is not good, what you have to handle. No, responsibility is for both the good and bad. The moment you're able to say yes or a no, you take responsibility, because responsibility simply means your response ability, the ability to respond, and it means your power to respond, your power to make decisions. The moment you can say yes or no as regards your life, then you are able to take responsibility, and you have to take that nicely and well. That is basically responsibility. And today we'll be talking about mindset. So let me run through this. So, and this thing I want to discuss now, I believe if this is all you know for this live tonight, you've gotten the bulk of you've gotten a lot. Let me not say a lot, because talking about the mind, mentality, and the mindset is a whole big scope that I can't just, not even in a conference, not even in 7 days conference, but I need you to understand this. It will be the basics. But many times the way I see this is, I used to be at a place where I was struggling with this kind of knowledge, and I would say that this should be common knowledge. This should be, everyone should know this. But it's surprising now that many people do not. And so I had to understand that I know these things, that people did not even have to start teaching me. No one even had to tell me about the mind when I started knowing how the mind worked, before I started learning and researching about it. But many people do not. And that's what I'm going to be discussing first, which is the fact that, so I'll give you a brief definition to what the mind is. And it says, I have here, the definition I have here says, The mind is the totality of the mental processes and experiences encompassing thoughts, emotions, perceptions, memories, and consciousness, and is often considered the emergent product of brain activity. I won't go into the science of this more. If you look at the way the man is, the way a man or a human being is, the mind is the processing ground of everything that happens with the man. But it is way vast, deep, and complex. So much so that an average man is only aware of the conscious part of his mind, of how I think in the present. The devices in front of me, the camera, the things around this office and this vicinity. That is what we most people know about the mind, and they are not aware of anything else outside of subconscious, outside of their conscious ability. But what you have to understand is the totality of the man, in the actual sense of how he thinks and reasons, operates in the mind. And the mind is not only about what you tell people that you are, it is the seat of the identity. So, which is what you have fed the mind, what you have fed yourself, how you started growing up. Say you were giving birth to, and the things you started seeing around you, how your parents were feeling, scarcity mentality, how they were spending money, the money they didn't have, or how they had money, how you saw your parents beat your fight, or how that you saw them express love to each other, how that you see them prefer your brother over you, or how that you see them express love. I had a very nice childhood with my parents. And what I mean by that is not like we had too much money, but we had love. We had the selflessness. Our parents didn't tell us you have to be selfless. They did it. They expressed it. But then I saw many other things like my, my dad had multiple wives, and then the fights and all other things. Those things, how they influence your brain and your mind, how they not influence first, how they enter into you and make up a part of you. What you know most of the time is just the subconscious part, but it forms a basis of your subconscious mind. Now, I won't go too complex into this, but I'm trying to explain to you that the mind of a man is the seat of the man's existence. So, in some religions, say in Christian religion, we say the mind is the soul. So we say the mind is tripartite, is the spirit, soul, and the body. So we say the place of the soul of the man in Christianity is his mind, is his mind. So which is his consciousness in this realm, in this reality. So for those who are not Christians, you have to understand that the man has a soul, he has a mind to help him to be conscious of the environment. Now, when we talk about the mind for an average person, the first thing he thinks about is thinking positive. Say, my mind, I'm blessed, I'm good, I'll be successful, which is the peripheral part of the mind. It does not even have to do with the core of the man, the confessions that you make, the affirmations. It doesn't start with that. When you talk about the mind, it is first the things that your life, your whole being is encompassed of. And that is where your response comes from, your habits, your character, the person you are. That is where it comes from, not just from your conscious understanding. Like I explained here, or like I gave us in the definition here, it says the mind is a totality of the mental processes and experiences. So whatever your experience has been, that is now informing your decisions. Now, I hope you know that when you have had a traumatic childhood and then it is influencing your decisions now, you are not really aware it is influencing your decisions. You just know you are responding to things now. For example, you grew up as somebody who was molested, a boy child that was molested, and now you dislike ladies or you don't trust some set of ladies. Now, many times you are not even aware that it came from the experience you had. You just know that I don't like this kind of thing. I don't want this kind of thing. And that's how you know that many of the things that has to do with our interests, the decisions we make are things that is are things that are stemming out of our experiences and memories, perceptions, and the things we have seen. Also, I'm trying to see if I should digress into this. When we talk about like father, like mother, like like father, like son, like father, like son, like mother, like daughter, many times stems from the place of the mind deposit, which is the totality of your mentality, the mental deposit, the memories, the experiences you've had, how your emotion runs, the decisions you make, and everything that sums up to make the you now, which is your identity, which is your identity. Now, how does the brain work? The brain works as an automatic perception system, which means that you don't have to, or the mind rather, you don't have to think too far because obviously the way God has made our brain, we are fast in reasoning. So you don't have to think so much before you make decisions. But you have to understand that your brain is fast in making decisions means that it has picked information from a part of your brain, a part of your mind, which is a part of your brain deposits to make informed decisions, whether or not it is informed or uninformed decisions to help you decide what you have to do now. Please, I would love that you leave any comments in the comment section. Thank you so much. I see you, those joining in England, those in England. Thank you so much, my England people. Obviously, the target audience is not necessarily the East Africa because your kind of message, which is what we teach the Success Academy team members, your kind of message is more rigid and rugged, but obviously you can understand the basics of these things. It doesn't have to be too complex. You can understand the basics. And I know that the East really suffer from not being able to understand what the mind is and how the mind works. Now, the way the mind works is that it feeds on the things that you have, like I mentioned, your experiences, your emotions, your memories, the things that you have fed yourself, the things that are packed up in your brain is what your mind picks on to work on the interface of your mind. So let me use an analogy to explain how the mind is. So when you look at your phone, you don't have a phone here. So there are phones around, but I don't want to reach out to any of them. Now, when you look at the way your phone is, you have the hardware, the one you can hold, the tangible one you can hold. That is your brain, the one that we can see, you can touch, you can obviously, when you open the head, you can see the brain. The software that runs on the phone, like the Facebook or WhatsApp, you can't hold it like tangibly. That is the mind. So the mind is the interface through which the brain works. That is, it is called neural activity. The combination of the expression of the neural activity in the brain. And that is what informs your consciousness. But much more, like I've mentioned, there is a lot of things that happen in the man that is not aware of. I talked about some responses in the body last time that I came on live, about how that it is not everything that happens in your body that you know, that you're conscious of. There are things like many times you don't even know when the food you've eaten digests. You just know that it's time to go to use the restroom, and then you go there. You never knew when it's time but you know it when you eat, when you shoot things, but you don't know it when the food is digesting. So there is a lot that happens with the man that he is not consciously aware of. That is to tell you that there is way much more about the man, about me, than what I am consciously aware of. But the more you start paying attention to the things that you don't pay attention to, the more you understand how your body runs and how your body works. For example, the more you learn now, or if now you learn about the mind and you understand that your mind is the interface of your brain in thinking and in reasoning, using the resources available to you, by that I mean your experiences, your memories, and every of the other information you see around your environment. When you know that your brain picks that and works on that to feed you the things that you're conscious of now and the things that you have to do, that works out your eventual habits and character and decides the decisions you make, how informed you are. For example, let me say this. If you have been feeding on negative information all the time, if you're the type who listens to the radio, I don't listen to the radio, and it is an instruction at the Success Academy that we do not listen to the radio because most often than not, especially when you are in from the east in Africa. It is bad news galore, bad news trending all the time. When you give your ears to negative information like that, what happens is it takes a seat in your mind, because the way your mind works is it listens to you. I just hope you understand that you are not just your consciousness. There is more to you than your consciousness. There are many factors operating you. There are many neurons. For thank God for science. It is now we understand the frontal lobe cortex or the frontal cortex or things like that. How that it is responsible for making decisions. How that your hearing, that the part of the brain responsible for eyesight is at the back here. Then you understand that there's a lot of things that when you understand about your body, then you can decide what goes on in your mind and in the future. I've seen people struggle with thoughts of lack. They never win in their mind. And then you can trace it to a lot of things that is taking the seats in their mind, the information they have fed their mind, the things they've been seeing consistently, the things they've given themselves to consistently. And when you understand that, then you look at how can I do the reverse psychology of this and get my brain to have the right information to process. Then you start adjusting and adapting to the right things that can help your brain maximize the full potential of transformation of life and transformation. So, um, so the psychology of this is that your brain runs on familiarity. It wants to repeat what it knows, not seek what you need. That means that you will unconsciously behave in ways that confirm what you believe. Now, if you believe success is hard, like everybody in your environment, they say that success is hard, success is difficult, or that you may not have a good chance at achieving success. Like when I started this life, I told you that when you understand principles, willpower, especially when you're somebody who knows God, the concept of God, but also the principles that God has made, and the concept of willpower and change, then you have a high chance, more than 80% chance at success. When you keep hearing that, then it informs your brain in a way that when you're confronted with challenges, there's a way you handle it. But imagine if what you've been hearing is success is hard, whether or not you are confronted with it. You see it in Hollywood, you see it in movies, that to be successful is extremely difficult. And then what happens is, or let me give you the common or generic example that we have learned in movies, is that you believe that success is just going to happen to you. Like you see a movie where somebody leaves Hampshire and travels to London, and in 6 months, or you just see the next scene in the movie, he's driving a nice car and he has money. And then in a way, it informs you, your brain processes that to mean that it can happen overnight. And you don't have to do so much because this guy didn't obviously you didn't see what he did to get him to be successful. And then you watch a lot of contents like that. You see people validate it with their lives by saying it, validate it as well by saying it, and wishing that they will be successful while not putting in the work, understanding the systems and the frameworks to put in place to achieve the success. And then you start running your life like that, because if you believe that the success happens that way, that is what your brain will find support and proof to back up. So if you believe success is hard as well, your brain will spot proof to back it up. If you believe you are not that kind of person, your brain will protect that identity even when opportunities show up. So why is it that poor people find it difficult to recognize opportunities? If you check it, it's not just because opportunities don't come around, it's because they have been programmed by the environment and the things they sunk in. How did somebody like me have a chance at being successful in the midst of very poor people? Was because I tried and I began to see different, not even tried. I rewired my mind and my brain to know that opportunities come around and I can have them. So what happened was that I had a new feature installed in me, having to do away first with the old feature. I have a new feature installed in my mind that it can happen to me. Success can happen to me. Let me give you this story. So, and I will try to make it quick. Now, there was a time that I was watching my TV. I was in the East in Africa. I was watching my TV. I was still very young, and I saw that there was a raffle draw. It was a common thing at that time. There was a raffle draw. They would just pick the number and call your number and say, "Oh, you have won a car. You won a house, or you won something like that." And I looked at it. These people didn't have to do anything. They were just in their houses. They called them and said, "Oh, you have won this," and truly they won it. And then I said, "It can happen to me." Even though I understand that at that time, say we're about 180 million in my country, but then I believed it could happen to me, and I believed it so much so that I worked my way into cementing that this can happen to me. Do you know that I cemented it so much so that when I was driving around or journeying past anything that had to do to do with raffle draw that you didn't necessarily have to do anything. When I saw it, the first thing that runs through my mind, because I've cemented it, I've won it over in my mind, it became a part of me. It was in my I fed my mind that kind of information was that this will happen to me. Or this can happen to me. This will happen to me. Do you know I was just in my house one day and I got a call and the guys ran me through, oh, hello, is this so and so? I'm calling to tell you that you have won this amount. You don't have to do anything. We are just going because I thought it was a scam because it was a common thing at that time. I thought it was a scam, and I was expecting him to say that, oh, do you want to send me a password or something like that? And he just went around, you don't have to do anything. I just want to inform you about this, and then you receive this money at so time. And I felt, wow, it is an exact expression to let you know that you can walk your way into success by the power of your mind, because the mind has the power to make rich and has the power to make poor depending on how you use it. And there are many things about the mind that I won't talk about in this live stream. There is one that I will give a chip to. There's a way you can use people's mind to your advantage. But I won't get into that because everybody's mind is powerful, and whatever they believe it will be, that is what it will be. That is what they get out of life. Now, some of you say it's motivation. Motivation. If that's what you think, it's not motivation. They are just principles of life. If you don't understand that yet, so. But then moving forward, if you believe you're not that kind of person, your brain is going to protect you from those opportunities and you won't find them because your thoughts are not just random. Your thoughts are not just flying around. There are things that are coming out of the deposit within you. They are from deposits. The things you see around, and like I talked about, if you're around here and you listen to the radio, say you're in the east or you're in the west. In the west, maybe not so much bad news on the news, but maybe not so much bad news on the news in the west here. But then you still hear a lot of car crash, a lot of this is not going well, that is not going well. Shut those things off your mind. But I won't get into that now. So I'll be talking about 5 mental traps that ruin progress. Running through this quickly. This is meant to be introductory, not meant to be encompassing everything you have to know. And the first thing is the fixed logic. I have four here. The fixed logic trap. Now, the fixed logic trap is indeed a trap because what it tells you is when you hear people say things like, that's just who I am. That's just who I am. To make it, to prove to you or to them that they cannot change, or to prove to you that they have accepted what they are and there's nothing they can do about it or that you can do about it. Is it that's just who I am. I don't like this, I don't like that. Even if it is what they can change, they just tell you this is who I am. They are trying to tell you that they have fixed their minds on this identity and they are sticking to it. So whether or not it is responsible for their failure, they will stick with it. One of the things that I love about teaching transformation or communicating transformation to people is if it is not going to be beneficial to your eventual growth, because I will say this again, two ways to be successful. Two ways to be successful in a concept is look for the price. Second is pay the price. Now, when you have looked for the price, you have to pay it. So if the price is the fact that you are rigid with your mentality, you have to change it. If the fact is that you can't beg people, you have to change. If the fact is that you give people all of your money, you have to. Don't say that's just me. I love giving for no reason. I just love giving. I used to have, not I used to, I have this friend. And I remember that there was a time that he would give people things a lot. This guy gives to me as well, to everybody. And I remember I had to sit him down. You're planning to build a successful life of success. With the way you are giving, even though I'm a beneficiary of your giving, I can tell you this cannot help your life. We have to talk through it because you give. It won't be bad. Everybody wants, there are people struggling to give. But now the problem is you give too much because everything needs to be done intelligently. Your emotions needs to be intelligent. That's why we talk about emotional intelligence. Your finances. That's why we talk about financial intelligence. Your mind, mental intelligence, family intelligence. Everything has to be intelligent. So you don't do it anyhow or the way you like or the way it has been or the way it appeals to you or the way it gives you pleasure. For example, there are many people who say, I just love playing games. Do you need to be playing games? Do you really need games? Now, that is the fixed logic trap. That's just who I am. When you agree with that, what you have done is you have sealed your potential. You have put some, you have built some fences with bricks that you will not move, even if that is where the door should be to your success. You I won't get too much into that, but I've met a lot of people with different characters, different understanding of life, and then you feel this person mentioned is he wants to be successful, and he's doing it as though everything has to be on his own terms. I won't get too much into that. The second mental trap is the overthinking trap. These people acting, confuse thinking with doing. They think the moment I've talked about this in some of my videos, I still have some other uh videos where I'll talk about this. And you just have to follow me on every social media. And I would love that you leave a comment in the comment section to let me document where you are joining from, and then I can have a view of those who are following. Now, the overthinking trap. I have found people they didn't have any flair for success, but now they want to be successful, and then they go for information. The moment they got information, they assumed that they got what they needed to be successful. So they talk intelligently. And if you speak with them, they speak intelligently, but their life remains the same at all times. And I see, I've met very intelligent poor people. I've met very intelligent lazy people. I've met very intelligent confused people. I've met very intelligent clueless people. I've met very intelligent people who only know the theory but would never do anything. So they overthink it. They think they know. Oh, overthinking here would be they overthink it in a way that I was talking in one of my video how that you can overthink something. Let's use business. You can overthink a business so much so that you simulate it in your head and you start believing that you have the business already, even though the business is nowhere to be found. You have mastered, I will have a staff, I will have this one, they will report this way, he will give me the report on Mondays, every Mondays, and this is what I will say, this is how I will say it, this is how my office would look like. They overthink it so much so that they start to, it happens to them like they have done it. And I also use that there's the positive way to use that kind of energy, which is this. Now, there are times that I'm a type who posts things a lot on social media when I have the time, even though I'm not replying to messages because I'm not the replying type. So sometimes I just want to put some things on say, let's use my WhatsApp status. Now, what I do sometimes when there's something that I just feel to post, but then I feel I don't want to post this thing. What I do is I go to the posting section, I put the picture there, I put the caption or whatever I want to put there. When I'm done, I just delete everything. That's to tell my mind that I've done it so that it doesn't come through my mind again like I have to do it. So, which means that there is a way you can trick your mind, or it can happen to your mind like you are actively doing something even though you have not done it. And I've met a lot of people like that. They will tell you 5 years down the line, they've had this business idea they want to do. And then a few, I talked about it in my last session. There's this person that is with, if not more than 5 years, he's had this business plans. And then when we talk again, he'll say, yes, next year, this is what I'm planning to do. And then he will do something entirely different. Not really, he doesn't have a structured, a clear path for his life. Everything is existing as a plan in his head, no timeline attached to them. Sometimes next year I'll do it, or next year I'll do it. When next year? Because if you're going to invest in a business January next year, by now we should have seen the way you commit to your savings. Because if you commit to it January next year, then we should know that There's this amount you will need to start the business. There is, I won't get into that. So there's the overthinking trap. There's a comparison trap. The comparison, I was talking about that. I still put it on my WhatsApp this morning or this afternoon. How that you are measuring your timeline, you're measuring your life by someone else's highlight, by someone else's reel, by someone else's achievement. And I was talking about, that there is, everybody loves nice cars. Say there is the best car you can have now would be a 2026 car, which obviously anybody can have if you are in the West. Now, which is, if you're in the West, you can have. I would love that you put a comment in the comment section if you're following from anywhere, YouTube or Instagram. So, and I think I should see it here. I would see it here. So having a 2026 car, it looks good on everybody. But then you have told us that you want to invest. I don't want my family to suffer. I want to build generational wealth. I want to build this. I want to build that. I really want to have a structured life. I don't want my family or my wife to suffer. I want this to happen. I want this to happen. Or when I'm 60, by that time, I don't want to work anymore. I don't want to work for an employer. I don't want to be paying my mortgage. You've told us all of those good things. But now there's somebody who has just, your colleague who has just bought a 2026 car or 2025 or even 2020. Let's even go as far back as that, 2020. And then there's this, wow, this guy is nice. It's so lovely. Or they have just bought a house and then you love the pictures that they post from outside the house. And then there's this desire that starts happening to you to acquire those kind of things because you are comparing yourself. And many people have mentioned they are not self-aware to understand this thing is going on with them. But they know that this is not what I should commit to. But somewhere, somehow, they find a way to legitimize that feeling, that experience they feel, and then they go for it. That's the comparison trap. The mind is not so aware to know that there is something happening to them, a deposit of what they are not aware of, that is happening in their brain and their being, in their understanding of things, which sometimes could be lack mentality, which is scarcity mentality, scarcity mindset, no abundance mindset, and then they go for it. I won't take too much time there. So when you see people achieve things and then you start feeling or you start telling yourself, or sometimes you don't say it, but in your mind, what your mind is replaying is, I'm behind. I'm behind in life. I'm not, I'm not, I'm not where I should be. Then you are anxious, especially when you see materials that people have, the nice car, the nice house, the vacation. You assume, or let's even say they look ahead of you in life, then you want to match up that energy because you feel like you're behind, and then you go into what may give immediate pleasure or satisfaction. That aside. Now, the last part is the comfort trap. I've talked about, I won't take too much time on this because I would want you to go back to my previous sessions that you can always watch. I was watching one of the previous lives because I love to replay my tape and I loved it. I love that it's quite educating and educative. So I'll need your comments in the comment section. Thank you so much for those who are dropping their comments here. So it says some people think being unchallenged means that they are balanced when there's no, everything has been going on at work the same way. There's no stress from the boss. There's no. I'm not saying they have to fire you, but everything has been going on the same way. You just want that life of peace, and then you assume it to be that you are really successful or that you're going to be successful because there's no challenge happening to you. That is another trap you don't want to experience. Now, the subconscious mind, I want you to understand this because I have varying audience from my devices. I was focusing on this device because I have the audience who needs to understand that here. Now, I love to talk about psychology because I believe psychology helps everyone to be self-aware. If you want to understand why you do what you do, why you do what you do, when you do it, how you do it, learn psychology. And the best thing you can do to yourself is to understand, why do I do what I do? Why do I believe what I believe? Before you talk about other people, before you do behavioral psychology where you can talk about other people, why do I do the things I do? Why do I do it the way I do it? Why do I feel convenient at this? Why do I feel lazy at this? Why do I have this strength at this? Why do I feel like self-development is difficult? Everything around that, or why do I feel easier doing this? Then you can understand your problem and the solutions around it, even though you may not have all the whole scope. But when you identify the problem, you have a good chance of solving it because first, you know what the problem is. and what the cause of the problem is, not just the result of the problem. You know what is causing the problem. Thank you so much for everyone in the comment section. So, your subconscious mind does not care about your goals. It only majorly cares about your identity. When we talk about who are you, that is when we're talking about what your mind processes, not what you want, not how you want it. Your mind is majorly a definition of the who are you. You don't have to tell me or you don't have to tell people, but you have to take the time now to think about it. Or maybe after this, I've mentioned this over and over. There's no reason why you should join me in this live stream if you would not do or act on the things that I propose to you to work on, especially if it is reasonable to help your life. At least there's a reason why you have joined. I do not think I know. I don't know those who are joined now, but I see a number of persons joining this live. The reason why you must have joined is because you want your life to be transformed, not just because you want to waste your time. You could have been doing other things. So if I'm recommending things or I'm proposing things for you to do, do it. Don't save it for later. I've mentioned this in a number of times. When you read a book and it says write down 5 lists of things that you need to do to achieve this, don't skip it and say, now I just know it or I will do it later. Write it down. Write it. Like take the pen and write it. That is how transformation happens. That is how you are not overthinking and neglecting the place of the doing. So, for example, if we are talking about who you are and what you want, there are two different things: who you are and what you want. One is your identity, one is the need, that you think I need this or you want this. Now, there are two ways to identify this in expression will be when you believe that successful people are selfish, but then you say in your mind that you want to be successful, then you know that there's a contradiction there. Your mind will not work together in contradiction to provide you with success. No, no. If you believe successful people are evil, you won't be successful. If you believe successful people are they are sick people, because I know people who believe that when you are rich or wealthy, you always have a sickness or something you are not seeing. It's a lie. If that's what you believe, it will discourage your mind to put all the effort into really achieving success, because there is something that you're looking for proof for. Your mind will prove it for you and will give that to you. Now, when you say you want more money, but you believe you are not good with money, or you are not sure you can handle money, or you have the fear that the money will not stay, you won't have the money. Your mind will not stay in a place to guarantee you it will not be coordinated to, because the mind doesn't work in confusion. The moment you are confused as to what you need, what your mind will pick is a negative bias, because every mind is naturally negativity biased. Every mind is naturally. So if your mind is positively biased, it is what you will have to work on to achieve that, because even the world, the information you get from the outside, naturally is negative. And the first thing that happens as a thought in your mind is naturally negative. Am I sure it will work? It doesn't work like that. Am I really sure this thing will happen to me? Am I sure I will get this job? Am I sure I will get this? It is naturally negative first before the positive. That's even why when you say I will get it, there's still the are you sure? But there's a way you can work on your mind that you subject every, and it's because you are too much accumulated negative messages as well. Like I talked about, the mind is a summation of the mental operations, mental systems. That is your mind, your mental structure that has to do with and that uses the resources of your emotions, your thoughts, your experiences, your experiences, the things you've seen, the things you've thought about, the way you ruminate on things, which obviously informs the way you ruminate on things, and eventually makes the decision. Eventually boils down to how you make the decision for your life. Now, I've seen people say, love is, men has come. Love is not real. You can't truly love somebody. And eventually you know how those people's marriages will look like. You know already, because they think they believe that love is not you can't find true love. And then one part they are trying to believe that maybe they will find a true love for them alone. But you understand that when the true love comes, let's even say they have the true love, they will mess it up, because the mind will suspect things and it will give you proof to show you what you have believed. So, how do you rebuild the mind? Because it is negative bias, it is what you have accumulated. So, let's say now you have lived a traumatic life, you've been abused, or let's say even not everyone has been abused. Was I abused at any point? No, not necessarily. Maybe now I don't want to give it a thought because of time. But let's say that you lived with lack mentality or with scarcity mentality growing up, or you hardly find people succeed around you. So how then do you believe the success will just happen to you? And you don't believe it's just let me try little now. And do you even know that sometimes something positive happens to you and you are shocked that it happened to you? You know why? Because it never really happens around you. I remember that uh, I worked my way into this success mindset in a way that some things happen that people celebrate and some persons get to know and they congratulate me and I feel like, what were you expecting? Were you expecting me to fail at it or for it to not happen? So, for example, you see people graduate in the university and there's so much celebration and I feel, were you expecting not to have graduated in the first place? Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't celebrate. I'm not saying there are some things I shouldn't do. I'm just trying to say that when you think positive and success, some things will happen to you that will not be a big deal. It wouldn't be a big news. You got a promotion that you deserved. How is that a big deal? How is that a big news? Maybe if it is something you never expected, then you feel like, oh, this is a big one. Obviously, some you say you know that positive things will happen to you, but you never even knew that it will be in that velocity. Maybe you can be surprised. But now let's talk about those who have had deposit of negative things. You've been listening to the radio, and this morning something happened in the east that I won't talk about this Just Play 2 matter. I've not really entered into the matter. I just saw it somewhere. And I saw it because I went somewhere that I don't usually go to, but I had to go to for a reason, which is online. Normally, I had a conversation with somebody today that was about 1 hour. Many of the things he was talking about, I was clueless about. Do you know that most of those things he talked about, they were negative things? But I wasn't aware of them because I shut negative things out. If I know that the radio would have negative things, I shut them out. I don't follow pages where it is negative information you give. Every time people are dying, every time marriages are breaking, every time migrants are being sent back to their country, every time, oh, there's a panic at no, 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 no. I'm not sitting with that. And because eventually, now that I don't know about those negative things, how has he helped the negative things? But then I'm able to help my life regardless. Because you have to understand that as they are deposited in your mind, they inform you. Now, when I used to be in the East in Africa, there was a time I was going to travel from one state to another state, and there were kidnappings and things like that. Now, I'm not saying the kidnapping is not real, but then everybody around me, because they were sunk, people were still traveling, regardless of kidnapping. People were still traveling every single day in hundreds. So now I want to travel, and the first thing I see some persons around say is, "Do you really have to go? Do you really have to do this?" And I was thinking, what do you think that I am not safe? If I'm not saying that it is not legit for people to be kidnapped or things like that, I've never said that, but I'm trying to say that. But you having that fear increases your chance of being kidnapped. I just hope you know. You believing you can be kidnapped increases your chance. I'm not saying there's no chance there, but it increases your chance to be kidnapped in the first place. So then I told them, do you know how many people travel every single day? Why are you thinking I'm the one that will be victim of this thing? No. I don't want to get into it because it's just a long story. What I'm trying to say is when you listen to too much negative information about things, your mind has those things as proof to prove to you that those things fail. If what you have fed yourself is that startups fail, businesses don't work this way, they always fail, there is no way you start a business and it will succeed. Or there will be a very high chance that it will fail because your mind will keep proving to you that, oh, that's it failing, that's it failing. A customer, you have dispatched an order and the customer sends a return and you say, what's the reason? He says, I just don't like it. It's like, oh, oh, they just don't like my product. Maybe it's not good. By the way, maybe the quality is not up to standard. You start doubting the things that could have worked because your mind will find a proof to prove to you that that is not going to happen to you. And I hope this makes sense to you. Now, how do you rebuild the process? And I've talked about this. I do not love talking about the problem only. The first thing I love to achieve is to get you to be self-aware of why there's the problem in the first place. And then we can run you through the way forward. So, how did your mind become deteriorated? How did you believe that people cannot be successful? How do you believe that success is hard? You believed because of the information you got in your mind, in yourself, in your brain, the things you saw. Let me give you this analogy or this experience. And I believe everybody should be able to relate. Now, do you know that there are times that you walk past a place and somebody said something you thought you were never listening to, you just passed, and you got hope to start saying those things? Say, for example, you listen to a song in a club. That's how some of us as Christians, devoted Christians, that's how we get to know some bad songs. Not because we went there to listen. Say so you are scrolling and you hear I'm trying to remember this song now. I'm just trying to remember a random song. I don't know why it's not coming to my mind now. Obviously, it can't come easily because I don't fit on it, actually. So, but you just walk past a place or you scroll through something, you were not conscious of really paying attention to it. But the next few hours or the next day, the song starts playing in your head, shows to you that information enters your brain consciously and unconsciously. You don't have to license it and say, this enter my brain before it enters. And that is why the way to keep things out of your brain is not only by saying that I will watch it, but I won't allow it to stay. No, it is by not watching it in the first place. So, why should I be so negative biased that I love bad news? Do you even know that social media is built around negative bias? That the algorithm pushes. So, two things. I was watching a documentary explaining this by one of the experts in this social media platforms. He said that, do you know that if two persons go to an event, say like a party, and one comes back from the same party and says, I enjoyed myself, it was lovely. And the second person comes from the party and says, I just came back from the party, Anna was fighting with Joe, and the fight was so intense. As simple as those two messages, the one that trends the most is Anna and Joe were fighting, because humans are negative bias and the algorithm will push it more because everybody wants to see that. But the one who says the party was a success, I enjoyed myself, and I learned this new thing would not go far. And if you don't recognize that negativity bias in your mind and your brain, you would not be so aware to be able to shut them out, the information out. That's one, identifying that or knowing that your brain is negative bias. Number two is that you cut out every information source that has to feed your mind negatively. I just give you an example. It is true that something bad happened in Africa, West Africa. Not good, devilish, evil. I would not have known about. I just got to know about it like 1 hour before this live session, actually, or some minutes before this live session. Now that I know about it, how does it solve the problem? That's the question. How does it solve the problem? How does he edit? It doesn't do anything. So that I know about it doesn't help the matter. So why should I listen to it in the first place? That's one. If I have to because I'm a journalist, fine. But now, why do I have to? That's one. Two, now that I've known about it, now that I don't know about it, let's say I never had about the information, my brain still functions on my positive structure that I've set around it. So being positive bias does not mean that negative things will not happen. It means that you don't allow negative things into your brain and your head. This is how to build success. If you want to grow the power of your mind. And you can look around you, what people believe. It is more negative than positive. They see reasons why things don't work more than the reasons why it works. So I've talked about identifying first, knowing that your brain is negative bias, understanding that now you need to shut this information out. And also, so what you do is now you make conscious decision to shut out every source of negative information. And then let me explain some of the things that you may not pay attention to while I'm explaining this. Do you know that there are some comedies that are built around negative bias? A soldier beating a citizen. Why must it be a soldier beating a citizen? So it shows you that you are weak or these people are evil. You've seen things that fail all the time. People who had accidents, just news of accidents or pranks on accidents. Things that does not really, that is not joyful. Do you know that I watched some pranks that I feel like if I knew these guys doing these pranks, I would arrest them. You see somebody molesting other people in pranks, and then you laugh. You really laugh. You enjoyed it. But you never knew that whether or not you consent to it or not, something happened to your brain. Something just happened in your mind. And your brain is speaking all of this information to relate to you when you're about to make the big decision of your life. So, I will give you a structure to it by explaining this. The rebuilding process of your mind would be the first, you have to catch the internal story. When anything goes wrong, now that you want to work on your mind to rebuild it, when anything goes wrong, ask yourself, what story is my mind trying to tell me from this event? Is it telling me that this thing is not possible? So you just add that somebody's business failed. Now, what is this telling me? Is it telling me that businesses fail that often or so often? Or it is telling me, I hope you get what I'm trying to say. Or it is telling me, obviously, you have to know that yours won't have to fail. Or that there may be more that you have to learn or do, but not that it's impossible. Or that your mind is telling you that even if this failed, there are people building businesses and they are successful. Or is your mind telling you that this is a learning field, that a business field does not mean you are a failure? It's just one of the things that you have to learn in the journey of building a life of success. Now, challenge the story. Ask, how does this belief serve me? So if what your mind is telling you is the business failed, the business failed, the business failed, which would be in the guise of businesses fail. So how does this serve me? Is it serving me as per businesses fail? And if I want to start a business, I have to see that it may fail. If it does not serve you, you have to challenge it. Rewrite it. Tell it that it failed does not mean mine has to fail. Or, like I just said, businesses thrive as well. That a marriage fail does not mean mine will fail. I can't even conceive that in my mind that marriages fail, mine fail. It's not even a realistic thing to think about, not to talk of pondering on it. Now, rehearse the new identity. So if there's a thought that has come to you, this business failed, this marriage failed, you challenge the story. What is this going to do to me? Is this going to serve me well or break me or give me a bad idea of how these things work? They saw this, whatever idea, the new identity you have brought out of it, rehearse it, think it through, and believe it. Interestingly, the way forward could be that you get information positive to counter that, to prove that that is not the real essence of what you have to believe. And then you have to protect your inputs. Whatever you now believe, whatever you now stick to, protect it. Like, now I protect my space. You don't have bad news in my space. So I do this with people, and let me just explain it briefly. I do this with people. When I try to show about the mind, how you protect your mind to people, I go to my WhatsApp status and I have a lot of contacts, quite a number of contacts. And then I scroll through. Do you know that out of, say, the 500, I don't know if I have to up to 500, but I think I should. 500 people who upload statuses on my status, I barely see 20 because I've muted 99% of them. And it's not because they are bad people or they upload bad things, but because the moment I spot things on your status that doesn't edify me or contribute to the growth of my life, or you are the type who repost bad news, or you repost memes that are just, or funny things that are just to dwindle the mind, because I'm way conscious more than you. What I do is just to mute, and that's why you have the mute button. You have control over your space. You can mute to not keep seeing those things because you need to protect your mind. Now, the mindset that changes everything on the pathway to success. When we talk about the I can't to how can I, many people think we are fumbling or we are just trying to make sense of what is not. Now, I'm trying to say that I cannot. I know what I'm saying I cannot. I know why I've said it. I know what I'm saying. I know that in my family this. I know I don't have the money. I know it doesn't happen this way. I know how many people are failed. I know how many people. You have all of those reasons because you have gathered too many negative information. I know that it just works simply like this. Once you just have this business setup, it's just run straight through. But then the moment you have this negative belief bias, and I've told you, you always have excuses if you find one. You find more than 100 excuses if you are looking for one. And the moment you gather around that, you will find it extremely difficult to believe you can. So for some of us who talk about from I can't to how can I, and then you are over the screen, you cannot relate with what we are talking about, means that you have fed yourself too much negative things, and to you it looks like just talk, like motivation, like I'm just motivating you. So what happens is it never shows up in your actual life experience. It never shows up. So from it's hard to it's new. One of the things I love to teach my mentees at the Success Academy is this. When you want to start a new self-developmental journey, it's normal that you're not used to this thing. It will look hard in the first time. Every new thing everything that you know how to do now, you started at one time. And now, when you start it now, like you're learning a new habit, like reading, you're learning a new habit, communication. It may be hard now. The understanding about it is when you do it often enough, it becomes a part of you that you never even have to think before doing it. That's how to think. So it is hard, so it's new. I'll get used to it soon. One of the traits that I love to share with people is this. I'm quite intelligent with the use of devices. So when there's a new device or there's a new feature, I don't do away with it. I don't get stuck with my whole, say there are shortcuts on the system. I don't get used to the whole system that I leave the new, even if the new might take a little time. I get so used to it that I'm able to master the new item, even though it won't be as easy at first. But then I know in the long run, it will serve the purpose of making my life easier and better. So from Sunday to today, not I'll do it someday, I'll do it now, today. Then this brings you to take charge of your life because you're taking the responsibility, you're taking the responsibility to set your life on course. Now, I'll say a few things to round up this live stream tonight. But first is that mindset is a daily maintenance job. It is not what you do once and for all. So if you don't have a strong mindset now, the job is for you to do it every day to make it stronger. Like you're going to the gym or you're starting push up, even if it is in your house. It is a job that it is something you do every single day. Every single day. You work on it. Well, you need the commitment as well. Now I talked about if you want to be successful, you need a desire, you need the change to know that you will change. You need to take responsibility and then understanding how your mind works. So as you build them every day, few of the things you have to start implementing would be how you handle bad news. So you find a bad news come on your screen, how you handle it. Obviously, if you don't feed yourself on bad news, it won't really be popping up on your timeline. And I've mentioned that if you come to my social media or to my media, anything media, what you will see will be different from yours because there's a way I've drawn my pattern. And one of the things I've told our manager, our social media manager, and our other managers who have access to our accounts, to our media accounts, you don't search your personal things on our professional accounts because I don't want to start seeing things that I'm not committed to. You don't. You don't search for your personal clothes, search for how to buy this, and then I come online to start seeing clothes. No, it is because I have built it that way. So you start by how you handle the bad news, how you talk to yourself after a mistake, how you react when things don't go your way. If you believe in the negative or you start thinking in the positive, how you handle it, the response you give to it, even after you have said, "Oh, this thing doesn't work with me." What next do you do? Do you try to recorrect it? Because the mind is programmed and uses the resources that you feed it. So also knowing that your growth doesn't happen in comfort. Growth will always happen. I wish I can stress enough that while I'm not saying that everything has to go bad or go wrong in your life, but you have to know that things not going right many times is there to build you because you're able to now make decisions to change things for yourself. So, in the last session, we had to do some practical exercises, and we'll do some more today. I've also mentioned that I don't need you to join my life if you're not act on the things you are learning or you are yet to learn. And then I'll be running you through these three things you have to do. They can rewire your mind, reconstruct your mind, rebuild your mind to being positive and transformative to provide you success. So, the first thing you want to do that I want you to do is to write a mental story that you have been living in that no longer fits your goal. So, to give you an example, would be um, some of these things are quite difficult because I've lived the life way long enough. I've lived those lives behind, but because I teach it, obviously, I must be able to provide you with some examples. So, I don't like giving negative examples because, but then let me give this. So, if you believe that things don't work well in your family, there are some things I wish I could share, but they can only be shared in the personal community group, the TSA community group, not outside here. So when you believe that success is not necessarily for you, or that you are not, you know that thinking about success is just looks like an illusion or a fairy tale to you, then you think about why am I thinking about this? Is it because of my family and that anybody who succeeds in my family succeeds by fraud, or that they have to work out years of their lives anything close to financial liberty or financial stability? Then you can play that story. Look at the story, and then you look at, can this really fit into the goals the things that I want to build now? If it doesn't fit into it, then you identify that. The second is, what truth do I need to start believing about myself instead? My new identity, my new found self. What truth do I need to start believing? What new things, the truth that I need to start understanding about myself? Because if you don't know that these things are possible to happen to you, they will not happen to you. And the third would be, what small action would prove that belief today? What small action would prove that this change can really happen in my life today? What small action would prove that I can really achieve the things that I'm setting my mind to achieve? So the first, write the mental story that is against you, that you always think about when things fail, when things don't work out, or why you give the excuses, or why your mind is dwindling or has dwindled. Would be, what are the new things you want to get out of your life? And this is self-awareness 101. And the third would be, what are the small little actions I want to take every single day? And then you need to start taking them. So I want you to write this back. be next live, which should be on Wednesday. I want you to have worked on this, written it down, and then taken the assessment, and then giving yourself the actionable steps you need to start working on. If it is to short things out, short social media out. Some of the things you'll have to do, you may have to learn it. For example, if you have to cut down social media, you have to cut down on it. If you have to start cautioning your height, you have to start doing it. Obviously, there are some of those things that you need the how to achieve them before you can actively really achieve them. But then if you join, and which I want you to follow and subscribe to my channel, you can always learn these things without hassle, with no hassle. I believe this has helped you and has transformed you. The mind is the brain box, or the operation box of whether or not you'll be successful or not, especially when you're coming by the route of principles and willpower. I believe this has transformed you. So I'll be coming live at will. Make sure you follow and subscribe. And I also have this live coming up. As much as I'm running this series, I'll be running that series as well. It is me talking about, I'm a Bible scholar, anyways, for those who don't know, for those who are just getting to know. And I'll be talking about the first book of Adam and Eve, talking about the lives of Adam and Eve. I've had too many stories, too many assumptions, too many fabrications, too many things fitted into the life of these guys, and I feel this is the time to talk about the life Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden and outside of the garden. So if you are a Christian or you are a person of religion, it is a good time for you to join to learn what really happened. I'm a Bible school. For those who just know about that, I'm a Bible scholar, and I have all the documents to show to you, the extra-canonical documents that explains their life inside of the garden and outside of the garden after the fall, how they died, what happened after they die, how did their body decay that easily, and what life was during those times. And I know you would want to know what that was. I would want you to follow me on all social media handles. There's YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, as I look to seeing you the next time. Thank you so much and have a wonderful